Heyo! It's been a long time coming. After a ton of leaks and rumors surrounding the console, and even Sony accidentally leaking it twice, the PS5 Pro was finally announced today, and it's got some serious upgrades. The GPU has up to 45% faster rendering, the ray tracing can be done at up to double or triple the speeds that the PS5 can do it, and the PS5 Pro has a new AI-driven upscaling system. Some games are running with huge amounts of detail, all while maintaining amazing performance. But even after Mark's smooth and sweet voice narrated all of the upgrades included in the PS5 Pro, am I sold on the console? I haven't played any PS5 games that have truly pushed the console to its limits. Sony's newest release, Astro Bot, looks beautiful and runs silky smooth, so there aren't any trade-offs being made in that game. There was no option for a performance mode or a graphics mode. It just ran well. Plenty of games have had to make those trade-offs though, so the increased power of the PS5 Pro will definitely come in handy so that people don't have to make that kind of choice. The problem though is that, at least from the side-by-side gameplay comparisons shown off during the PS5 Pro reveal, I can't really tell how enhanced the PS5 Pro versions of the games are. Maybe that's just a me thing, but I don't know. The games shown off already look stellar on the PS5, so any visual enhancements are kinda hard to notice. There are some games though that have actually had issues running on the PS5. When Final Fantasy 16 came out, I heard multiple stories of the game causing consoles to overheat, and some instances where the console's fans were extremely loud during intense parts of the game, or parts where the game would just straight up crash. It blows my mind that a game can even be that demanding, especially for the PS5, because it still feels like a brand new console. But in reality, we are about halfway through the generation now. It's definitely possible for a game to push the PS5 to its limits just like Final Fantasy 16 does. And as time goes on, I'm sure that more and more games will do just that. My prediction is that this generation will end up much like the last, with the PS4 becoming quite obviously dated by the end of the generation. I didn't have a PS4, but pretty much every one of my friends that did told me the same story. Their PS4s were completely fine playing 2K at the beginning of the generation, but when they were trying to play The Last of Us Part 2 at the end of the generation, those exact same PS4s sounded like airplanes. I have a feeling that GTA 6 will be this generation's Last of Us Part 2. Just going off of the trailers, GTA 6 looks amazing, but I'm sure that those crazy graphics will come at a price. The game has been announced for the PS5, sure, so it's not like PS5 owners won't be able to play it at all, but I doubt the game will run super duper well. I trust Rockstar to make sure that the game doesn't look like a complete slideshow, and I trust them to make sure that the game runs at least decently, but I also feel like the game will definitely be much more enjoyable on improved hardware. Even with all this though, it's not enough to convince me to go ahead and spend the full $700 on the console. The improved hardware will run games better, no doubt, but it's not like I won't be able to play those games at all on my regular PS5. I don't care all that much if a game runs at 30 FPS when the PS5 Pro can crank it out at 60, and I don't care if I'm missing out on improved ray tracing or anything. As long as the game runs well and it doesn't look like someone threw up on my screen, that's all that matters. All the other cool graphical capabilities are just added bonuses to me. Not only that, but the PS5 Pro comes without some of the basic things included with the regular PS5. The PS5 Pro doesn't come with a disk drive, which is a huge blow to physical games and game preservation. I play almost all of my games physically, so it would be a huge pain to have to go out and get a disk drive for the PS5 Pro. The console also doesn't have a vertical stand, which is another issue, because I use my PS5 vertically. And now, look, it's not that big of a deal. I could just use my PS5 horizontally, it's no biggie, but it's still kind of pointless to not include a vertical stand. I don't really see the reasoning in that. Sure, you want to cut costs, but I mean, really? It probably only costs them like $2 to make. At least the console comes with 2 terabytes of SSD space rather than the 825 gigabytes included in the standard PS5, but that Pro does not outweigh all of the other cons. My biggest fear going into the announcement of the PS5 Pro was whether or not there would be games exclusive to it. Both Microsoft and Sony made sure that the Pro models of the last generation didn't get exclusive games, so I had assumed that that would be the case for this generation as well, and thankfully, it is. There are no games exclusive to the PS5 Pro, but that gives me even less of a reason to go out and buy the PS5 Pro. Literally all you're getting with the console is improved performance that, at this point, isn't gonna make much of a difference in most games. Sure, maybe you'll go up from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, which is great, don't get me wrong, that's amazing, but is that really a deal breaker for you? Do you really want to go out and spend $700 just for a 30 FPS increase? You'll be future-proofing yourself, true, but not for very long, since we're already about halfway through the generation generation. By the time PS5 games become demanding enough to warrant buying a PS5 Pro, the generation will either almost be over or already over. At the end of the day, I can't think of many reasons to go ahead and buy this thing. If you don't already have a PS5, I guess you could spend the extra $200 on the PS5 Pro, but at that point I feel like it would make more sense to just save up a little longer for a gaming PC. If you really want a PlayStation though, I would just buy a regular PS5 and then use the extra $200 to buy games or a PlayStation Plus subscription or something. If you already have a PS5, there's definitely no reason to go out and buy this thing. You'd just be shredding your money. $500 is a lot of money, so to increase that to $700 is just outright insane. I understand that obviously there are some huge improvements in the PS5 Pro compared to the PS5, but they gotta consider that people buy consoles because they're more economically feasible than gaming PCs. People aren't gonna go out and spend $700 on these things. That's simply too much money. Maybe I'd consider upgrading if the console was cheaper and it didn't throw out important parts like the vertical stand and the disk drive, but as of now, the PS5 Pro is a hard pass for me.